Welcome back to World History. Today, we're finishing up Chapter 13. Let's get into it. All right, so in the second half of Chapter 13, we're going to talk about who takes over after Ghana. All right, we're going to talk about the Mali Empire and the Songhai Empire. Now listen, of all the people that we've learned about in this chapter, Mansa Musa is the one we need to know. Okay, Mansa Musa, very important in world history. Let's tilt that camera down a little bit. Askia the Great, we'll talk about it. What's a griot? What's kente? What's kora? Okay, these are just vocab words, and they're pretty easy. If you need to, you can make some flashcards. That'll help you. Okay, who was Mansa Musa? Leader of Mali. He takes an important trip. I'm going to give it away. He's super rich, okay? Mali and Songhai, two great empires after Ghana, and who are the griots? Storytellers or historians of West Africa. We've talked about it. History loves it if you write stuff down. History doesn't love it if you don't write stuff down. Okay, where will most people live? Where will civilization develop? The savannah, right? When given these choices. Okay, because that's easiest to grow food, easiest to farm. Remember this? Okay, very good. Where's Ghana? Okay, hopefully you remember. It's up here in this region right there. Very good. So where will Mali and Songhai be? Pretty much in the same spot. Okay, I'll show you the map that's a little more accurate. But if you know where Ghana is, you know where these guys are going to be. Because they just come next in the timeline. So here's the map where you can see the overlap between Ghana, Mali, and Songhai. Yeah, they're a little different, but they're pretty much in the same location. Does that make sense? Okay, so this is all Niger River civilization, West Africa civilizations. Here's another map. Gives you a different layout. Okay, so what defines social groups in West Africa? Family and age or age set. Sound good? Okay, don't forget that. The belief that bodies of water, animals, trees, they have spirits. What's that called? Animism. Okay, very good. Why would people trade gold and salt?
Here, the salt mine has been working since the 11th century. In Tau Denis, the landscape changes with the day. A pockmarked landscape of tailings from the hand-dug pits where the salt is mined. The abrasive sand grinds away slowly on the bodies of the men who continue to work the salt. Many have terrible sores all over their feet and hands.
There are days when your arms hurt, but there are no doctors here. There is nothing. There are men who have bad wounds like this. It's really hard, but what are you going to do?
The salt tablets are loaded on the camels as the people prepare to head out. They will spend about 14 days heading south to Timbuktu. For them, crossing the desert is not merely getting from here to there, it is a process. In the Sahara Desert, there is no reference point. As far as the eye can see, it's an absolute sea of sand. Nighttime comes and goes. The sun rises large in the sky. As the caravans move out on these long journeys, the guides utilize skills which have been developed slowly, literally over generations. They read the direction of the stars. They use the orientation of the sand dunes and tracings in the sand that mark the direction of the prevailing winds. As they travel through the desert, they come upon well after well, where the caravans stop and allow their camels to drink. It's the continuation of a tradition, a means of survival that's been alive for 1,000 years. During their trip, the caravan encounters rain, causing them to stop. The rain affects the salt and will cause it to break if it is not allowed to dry out. They are at least a 10 days walk north of Timbuktu, in the middle of the Syrian desert, down to a liter or two of water. But they don't panic. They remain extraordinarily calm. They send a guide to track down a rumored well and hope that the rains have been sufficient. With the little water they have left, they brew some tea. They have learned to adapt to the desert landscape, using the knowledge gained from their ancestors over the centuries. As they get closer to Timbuktu, as far as the eye can see, the sand and the sky blends together. The camel caravans arrive in Timbuktu. They very carefully unload the camels one salt block at a time. They stack the salt blocks in a little adobe courtyard. They prepare to make the journey back to Tau Deni, continuing the cycle of the salt caravan.
All right, now we're going to talk about the Lion King. No, not the cartoon, not that Lion King. The real Lion King, Sundiata, all right, first ruler of the Mali Empire. As the story goes, he was born a cripple and he becomes a king. So, he grows up, he builds an army, he takes over Ghana. What does it mean to take over Ghana? What were the resources that Ghana had? Gold and salt, okay? He took power from local leaders and he combines religion and the state, okay, political and religious power. He takes the title of Mansa. Okay, Gao will become the capital of the Songhai Empire. Timbuktu will become the capital of the Moroccans. These are just some cities. You might hear the word Timbuktu in your life. Here's where Timbuktu is right there. Okay, Mansa Musa, possibly the richest person on earth, okay, ever, at his time or ever. He takes a pilgrimage to Mecca. What's that called when you take a pilgrimage to Mecca? A Hajj. Remember the word Hajj? Okay. While he's going through Egypt, he throws out gold. This is going to cause inflation.
If someone asked you who the richest people in history were, who would you name? Perhaps a billionaire banker or corporate mogul like Bill Gates or John D. Rockefeller. How about African King Musa Kita I? Ruling the Mali Empire in the 14th century CE, Mansa Musa, or the King of Kings, amassed a fortune that possibly made him one of the wealthiest people who ever lived. But his vast wealth was only one piece of his rich legacy. When Mansa Musa came to power in 1312, much of Europe was racked by famine and civil wars. But many African kingdoms and the Islamic world were flourishing, and Mansa Musa played a great role in bringing the fruits of this flourishing to his own realm. By strategically annexing the city of Timbuktu and re-establishing power over the city of Gal, he gained control over important trade routes between the Mediterranean and the West African coast, continuing a period of expansion which dramatically increased Mali's size. The territory of the Mali Empire was rich in natural resources, such as gold and salt. The world first witnessed the extent of Mansa Musa's wealth in 1324, when he took his pilgrimage to Mecca. Not one to travel on a budget, he brought a caravan stretching as far as the eye could see. Accounts of this journey are mostly based on an oral testimony and differing written records, so it's difficult to determine the exact details. But what most agree on is the extravagant scale of the excursion. Chroniclers describe an entourage of tens of thousands of soldiers, civilians, and slaves, 500 heralds, bearing gold staffs and dressed in fine silks, and many camels and horses bearing an abundance of gold bars. Stopping in cities such as Cairo, Mansa Musa is said to have spent massive quantities of gold, giving to the poor, buying souvenirs, and even having mosques built along the way. In fact, his spending may have destabilized the regional economy, causing mass inflation. This journey reportedly took over a year, and by the time Mansa Musa returned, tales of his amazing wealth had spread to the ports of the Mediterranean. Mali and its king were elevated to near legendary status, cemented by their inclusion on the 1375 Catalan Atlas. One of the most important world maps of medieval Europe, it depicted the king holding a scepter and a gleaming gold nugget. Mansa Musa had literally put his empire and himself on the map. But material riches weren't the king's only concern. As a devout Muslim, he took a particular interest in Timbuktu, already a center of religion and learning prior to its annexation. Upon returning from his pilgrimage, he had the great Djinguereber Mosque built there with the help of an Andalusian architect. He also established a major university, further elevating the city's reputation and attracting scholars and students from all over the Islamic world. Under Mansa Musa, the empire became urbanized, with schools and mosques in hundreds of densely populated towns. The king's rich legacy persisted for generations, and to this day, there are mausoleums, libraries, and mosques that stand as a testament to this golden age of Mali's history.
All right, so let's talk about Askia the Great. People feared that if the king wasn't Muslim, that they would lose trade. Because if you remember, this is the same time period where Islam is expanding out of Saudi Arabia and it's reaching over into West Africa. So they're going to install Muhammad Ture, also called Askia the Great. Here's a quick video about his tomb. All right, so then after the Songhai Empire, they will fall to Morocco, and they have firearms. Okay, and so with different technologies, you can take over your neighbor basically. Here's how this rifle works. Okay, so here's some vocab. Let's do it. Griots, what are they? They're storytellers. Okay, they're the historians for Africa. Of West Africa. Okay, they're gonna keep the history. They're gonna pass it down. They have an oral history tradition. What's kora? It's an instrument. I've got a couple videos you can listen to it. And then what's kente? Hand-woven, brightly colored fabric. These are just little vocab words. If you want to pause the video and make some flashcards, please do so. Okay, kora, boom. Instrument, you'll hear that in just a second. Kente, very bright, vibrant colors.
fina mina fina yala dunia lolo mansa ira kura jeli mina jeli yala jeli yala jeli yala dunia ma tanya yele rebuma lagi na yele o mamana tanto yele rebuma mali yele o mamana tanto yele rebuma Senegal ye o mamana tanya yele rebuma mali yele o mamana
Listen.